I not only built a healthy home, but wanted to ensure that it continues to be a healthy home. So one of the most important things is air quality. So I'm sure you're aware, we spend up to 90% of our time indoors, and our indoor air quality can be up to 4 times more toxic than outdoors. So One of the key things for me was a ventilation system.
Welcome back to Reconditioned with me, Lauren Vaknine. Thank you so much for being here once more. So yes, I know we have spoken about mold on this season, but it's such a hot topic. It's not that it's a hot topic, right? It's not that it's like somehow fashionable and so I'm picking up on it, but it's noticing how many people are suffering from mold toxicity and mold poisoning, that I feel like it's my duty to bring it to as many people as possible. And obviously we had the amazing Ryan Blazer on the podcast a few episodes back. He is based in the US, so I really wanted someone based in the UK as well, who's also a building biologist and can do the same thing and go to your home and actually help you, whether that is assessing where you've got mold in your home, or if you're doing a build, help you kind of build your house in the healthiest way possible, which is why I got Katie Wood on today, who had severe mold toxicity, poisoning, and had no idea what it was not kind of on a holistic living journey in any way. So this episode has been just really kind of, I think, accessible for anyone, wherever you're at on your journey, because Katie was kind of really not in that world at all, and then had to come to it, which is always the way, right? Something pulls us in. And then she kind of overhauled her life step by step. And she talks about doing that really slowly, and the most important steps to creating a very healthy environment for your family within your home, and why that's so important, and the kind of symptoms that come up if we don't. So yeah, really great, very approachable episode for anyone that's kind of new to holistic living, new on this journey. And even if you're not and you've been here a while, obviously learning everything we can about environmental toxins, mold, creating healthier homes is always really refreshing to listen to, because there's always going to be something else we pick up on that we're like, oh yeah, that's my next step. I maybe put that off a while back because it was too expensive or it was too daunting, and I'm actually ready to research that and look into it now. So yeah, just all around a really lovely, great episode that I hope you will enjoy. And of course, if you enjoy the episode, if you've gained anything from it, please do share it with a friend or a few friends or a family member who you know will benefit. Maybe someone needs to listen to us telling them how damaging Glade plugins are for your health, and maybe this is just that extra reminder they needed in this episode. So feel free to send it to your Glade plugin, candle lighting, incense diffusing, stick lighting people in your life. Okay, that is enough from me. I hope you enjoy this episode, and thank you for being here. I am so grateful for you. If you've chosen to listen to this podcast, I probably don't need to tell you about the importance of connecting with the Earth's electromagnetic field daily, a lot, if we want to optimize health. Spending more time grounding, i.e. barefoot on the earth, actually helps the healing process and boosts immune function. But the reality is that most of us just aren't outdoors enough to get the full benefits of connecting with the natural frequencies of the earth. Even our footwear blocks this connection. So what do? Well, enter earthing sheets. I have an earthing sheet in my bed from Roland Earthing, and I've not only noticed an improvement in my sleep quality, yay, but also an improvement in overall vitality. By sleeping on an earthing sheet, you restore the electrical connection to the earth that you miss out on by not being on the earth enough during sleep, replicating being grounded in nature. And it works best this way because our bodies repair while we sleep, and we're there for ages. So really, this is the most valuable time to maximize efficiency of your earthing practice. The sheets are made from organic cotton, and they just go under your bedsheet. And not just that, Roland Earthing donates 1% of all sales to Farmers Footprint, Zach Bush's amazing charitable organisation, which really means a lot to me. Earthing sheets are also said to be really great for children with sleep issues and cognitive challenges. So all in all, I couldn't recommend these earthing sheets enough. And you can get a 5% discount by visiting rowlandearthing.co.uk. That's ROWLAND earthing.co.uk. And use the code Lauren5 to get a great 5% discount off your first order. Katie Wood is the founder of Healthy Home, a platform to help others create healthier living spaces free from toxins and pollutants. Having personally suffered from toxic mould poisoning, which turned her world upside down, Katie has made it her mission to not only optimize her own living space, but that of others too. Katie is a healthy home consultant, a building biologist in training, and her story was told in the Sunday Times. So welcome.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
And funny how things come around. You and I used to know each other many moons ago. And then when I was looking to kind of bring more kind of environmental toxin information into this season, someone mentioned you, and then we were like, we know each other.
Yeah.
So complete 360. So before we start, what have you done today to support your wellness?
Specifically today,
Specifically today, what have you done so far today?
So every day I get up and I try not to look at my phone, and I'm actually working on not having it in the room entirely. And I go straight up to, I've got a red light stack, and I sit in front of the red light. I read a book, and I just try and think about what I'm going to do for the day, and just heal from and energize really from the red light. I also make sure that I drink a whole load of water at the same time, so that I'm, just getting that hydration in. And then I kind of go and start my day. Obviously, at the moment, it's dark outside at that time, because I usually start around 6 a.m. So if it's nice weather outside and there's daylight, I will try and get outside and go and ground and just get that natural light. Obviously, it's impossible now.
Yeah.
So what I try and do is take my daughter, who's 20 months old. We always go for a morning walk, as long as it's not pouring down with rain, and try and get that light. But that usually comes a little later on in the day when when it's safe to go outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I take my supplements, which at the moment I'm just back to the real basics of vitamin C, which is just so essential, and minerals, some trace minerals in my water. I'm at the stage of working out where I'm going, what my next stage of supplementation is. So I'm just pared back. Then I'll make. Well, this morning I make Millie's breakfast, and I make my breakfast because I have to eat mine without her seeing, because otherwise she wants hers and mine. So that is really what I do, or what I have done this morning to start my day.
When I was at the HEAL conference at Gaia in Colorado a few months ago, I took with me a jar of Wise Earth adaptogenic honey that I'd been using for an autoimmune trigger, and I left it on the snack table for people to try. On the second day, there was a group of producers and tech people standing around the table looking in awe about something, so I went over. Turns out they'd tried the honey. One of them said, "What the hell is in this stuff? I feel awake and alive for the first time in ages, and I only just took a half spoon 5 minutes ago." Then Kelly Noonan-Gores of the HEAL documentary, who was hosting the event, was like, "Give me some, I need a pick-me-up." This was at the end of a very long, amazing, but draining weekend. She took a half spoon and instantly felt revitalized for the rest of the day. Within minutes, all the incredible speakers, Gaia directors, engineers, everyone was taking this honey, and it was like the energy in the room up-leveled in a way I've never seen. I'm telling you the story exactly as it happened, which is why I'm bringing you this here on Reconditioned. Wise Earth adaptogenic honey was created in response to founder Daniel losing his sister to cancer. It uses traditional Chinese medicine and cutting-edge extraction technology to create a potent adaptogenic honey designed to combat the current leading health issue, chronic inflammation, which is how everything starts. It's helped people from all over the world combat challenges from lack of energy to digestive issues to hormonal imbalances and a range of chronic illnesses. It uses the absolute best quality honey as a carrier of adaptogens such as reishi, chaga, and cordyceps to enhance both bioavailability and taste, ensuring maximum potency and effectiveness. Mix it into your coffee, whack it in your smoothie, or just take it neat on a spoon. You only need a little bit a day for the effects to work. And as I've seen from those around me and my own experience, those effects are huge. So visit wiseearth.uk, that's WYSE, earth.uk for UK or .com for US, and use code Lauren10 for a 10% discount. Awesome. Sounds pretty similar to my routine. Love the red light in them. I'm a big red light fan. A lot of our audience are big red light fans. Yeah, for anyone that's kind of new here, I'll pop a link in the show notes to my favorite red light panels with a discount code. So your journey to this came as a result of mold toxicity, mold poisoning. I would love to know how what your symptoms were, what was actually happening, and how you actually found out, because I think for a lot of people, from my experience, it's one of the last things they come to. Doctors on the whole aren't usually saying, yeah, that is a sign of mold toxicity. Let's get you a mycotoxin test.
Yeah.
That's not happening
You
in the
say on the
GP
whole,
surgeries.
I mean, forget it entirely
Right.
from a
So
GP.
take us back through your journey of that.
So I had moved into a new home. It had been recently renovated, and it was beautiful. I was having a great time. I was living a bit more centrally to London, and I was working for a film festival, and when I saw that there was a leak in the call it a house. It was a maisonette, so I was on the top floor, and where the roof joined to the wall, there was just some damp. It wasn't really. I couldn't really see any mold or anything. It was just you could see that there was a visible leak. I didn't really think much of it at all, and I told the landlord, and eventually it was remediated. But it took quite a long, long time for that to happen. In the meantime, I was going to the gym 6 times a week. I ate fairly well. I wouldn't say I was the healthiest eater ever, but I wasn't terrible. A terrible diet. Um, and I went on holiday with some girlfriends, and I came back and I had this awful cough, and it was summertime. So sometimes in winter you might expect to have a cough, but not in the summer. It just didn't really make much sense. And then it got to the point where I was having respiratory issues to the extent that I couldn't walk up the stairs from the front door of the flat to my own front door. And this was going from someone who was out all the time, who was in the gym really regularly, and suddenly I was just really struggling. So obviously I went to see the doctor. They put me on steroids. That just exacerbated the symptoms. I went and had chest x-rays and blood tests. Everything just showed up like there was nothing wrong with me. And what I even said to one of the specialists, the chest specialist, I said I'd been abroad and there was a problem with the air conditioning in my hotel room, and they didn't really think anything of it. Anyway, I just carried on, and I was just getting weaker and weaker, but there was nothing visible wrong with me. So people just thought I was making it up, or I was just doing too much, or whatever it might be. But I knew there was something really wrong. It kind of all reached a climax when it was the final night, the penultimate night of the film festival. So I was working round the clock every night, every day for over 2 weeks. And I got home and I I thought I was having a heart attack. But so I called the the um, the non-emergency line, and they said, it sounds like you're having a heart attack, we're sending an ambulance. Long story short, I end up in the ambulance. I passed out in the ambulance. They thought it was perhaps a seizure, which led to me having brain tests as well. Again, they showed absolutely nothing wrong. Got to the hospital, they couldn't find anything wrong with me. I know now that it was my body just saying enough, like I am done. um, so I had to quit my job and started on a healing journey, which I tried to do initially by myself, because I was going to see people, even abroad, who just couldn't tell me anything. So my first thing I did was cut out sugar, and cut out gluten, because gluten's not good for anyone, neither sugar. So I just thought, eliminate them from my diet, start to have a much healthier diet, juicing, and try and detox and cleanse that way. And it helped a little bit, but not so much. I was then very fortunate enough to be put in touch with Ryan Carter of Live Vitae, who then I worked with very closely. It was for the first time, he listened to me and he was like, okay, I get it. There is something definitely wrong with you, and we're going to find the problem, and we're going to fix the problem. Not just, as there's it's systemic now. Unfortunately, our health system, which is amazing in so many ways, it will treat the problem, not the root cause. And I couldn't treat the problem because no one knew what the problem was. Anyway, so Ryan did a whole host of tests, but he suspected that I had toxic mold poisoning. I thought it was crazy that something like that could come from just this small bit of mold, and damp that I had seen in my home. But he was completely spot on. And when I did the test, it's my citrulline levels were like through the roof. And so I did the mycotoxin test, and that was the worst. There were others that were highlighted as well, and that can have a severe impact on your neurological system, your immune system, and it just suddenly all clicked into place. So then I started on a very long journey of detoxing and healing, and that has kind of led me to where I am now, which is kind of threefold of wanting to make myself as healthy as possible and my home as healthy as possible, wanting to raise awareness for and with other people, because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. And then also having had, after fertility issues, having had the most beautiful baby girl, making sure that she doesn't have to encounter any of the issues that I've had to. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. Quite a long-winded way of, yeah.
Some of you may remember that towards the end of 2024, I had a bit of an inflammatory flare-up. Now, having been in remission for so long, it was quite challenging. And even with all my tools and the best practitioners at my fingertips, it wasn't shifting. And there were many reasons for that, but a friend told me about the energy enhancement system that has taken off like crazy in the States, but it had just opened in the UK. And I really was trying everything I could to heal, so I went to check it out. Honestly, safe to say, I've never looked back. And if you're suffering with anything from autoimmune conditions to mental health challenges to cancer, even if your pet is unwell, please stick with me for 60 seconds while I tell you what this incredible system of healing is. So EES creates special energy fields using scalar waves and biophotons that allow your body to return to a place of homeostasis and balance, because that's the frequency our bodies should be vibrating at when in a state of wholeness. These fields help to balance and optimize your body's natural processes, promoting healing and overall well-being. I've personally now had 2 daytime sessions and have also stayed overnight twice, giving my body 11 hours of recharging within the scalar waves. And all I can say, and my friends who I sent say the same, is I've never fallen into a deeper meditation or a more relaxed state than when I'm in there, showing me that it's absolutely doing something with my energy field, thereby promoting wellness. The energy enhancement system promotes the body's ability to detox, reduce inflammation, reduce pain, improve circulation, improve sleep quality, improve immune function. It regenerates cells and it balances the right and left hemispheres of the brain, which is why we go into such deep meditation when we're in there. And that's just the beginning. Guys, the body is designed to heal from everything and anything. And when it's synchronizing with the healthy, energetic environment generated by the system, it can. They're based in London. I cannot recommend it enough. And you can get 18% off any length session by using code Reconditioned18 when booking. That's Reconditioned18. Just visit www.energyenhancementcentre.co.uk to book, or you can head to the show notes for all the links. I cannot wait to hear your success stories. And please note, EES do not make any medical claims. These stories usually are. So it's super interesting because I think a lot of people have have these symptoms and have no idea what it's from. Like you say, you go to the doctor, you have all these things, you pass out, all these, horrendous things can happen, and no one's really paying attention because they're not things that show up on a standard GP blood test, which from my experience, most of the things that are really affecting our health are the things that are not showing up on a common blood test. Mineral deficiency can cause so many of the symptoms that we encounter. No one's testing for that, at the GP. No one's asking you to do a hair mineral analysis test, Even thyroid, they don't even check one of the most important markers, for thyroid when you go for a thyroid test. So, my message here on this podcast is not about, completely leave the allopathic world and discount it and don't it's not about some big conspiracy against anything. It's about take responsibility for your own health, take ownership of your own health, be your own primary healthcare provider. Don't put your trust in systems that are set up in a way that is not conducive to finding root causes or actual whole person healing. Even if you find an amazing doctor who has the best intentions and the nicest heart, their training has led towards finding you a band-aid, not finding you a root cause. So, or a solution to that root cause.
Yeah.
Even if you go to a doctor and say, I've got mold toxicity, they're not going to tell you the right things to do. They're not going to sit there and give you a protocol. They've got like 8 minutes with you if you're lucky.
Absolutely.
So I guess the next question is, what did your journey back to health look like? What were the first steps? And if you can take us through all the steps, and then, things in your diet, things in your lifestyle, things in your home, and how long that took as well.
Yeah, so I mean the whole process, it's an ongoing journey, and it's something that I maintain now. But in terms of healing from the actual mold, it took over a year
And
to
that's good.
to rid the mold from my body, and then I was left with chronic fatigue syndrome, and that really only changed when I got pregnant. So I'm not suggesting that that's something everyone should go and do in order to.
No, but that often happens. I mean, I know from my own experience, for many people with arthritis and other autoimmune diseases, they have these periods of remission when they're pregnant because the body is such a clever organism that it does everything it can to protect this baby. And so it makes you feel better so you can get through the pregnancy. But for a lot of people who haven't done the healing before that, they're like, oh, this is great. I feel great. And then afterwards, it's even worse because they haven't actually worked to heal before. So had you done
Right.
a lot of the healing before your pregnancy?
Yes. So I started in 2020, in between, so just after the first lockdown. I was getting married in September of 2020, so I wanted to make sure that I was able to dance at my own wedding effectively, which turned out to be an incredibly small wedding anyway. And so the first thing, I had already started on a keto diet, which helps to reduce inflammation, and it forced me to try foods that I hadn't previously eaten. So I was never very good at eating vegetables, particularly, but by going and doing a keto diet, I was forced to try different recipes and do all things. And I had a book with meal plans and recipe plans, and that really helped in terms of ensuring that I was getting healthy food into my body and getting into that state of ketosis where I could sort of almost reboost my energy system, and try and build mitochondria, which obviously I was severely lacking in. So that was one of the first things. Another key thing obviously was supplementation. So that was binders, glutathione, vitamin C. Vitamin C is so underrated, and I'm not talking just vitamin C like the chewy things that you can get in a local.
Definitely not. Don't ever go near those.
um, so it was mostly like acerola or liposomal vitamin C, and so just really high doses. And yeah, and if you don't need it, if your body doesn't need it, it just pees it out. So
Right. Yeah, you can't overdose on vitamin
you
C
can't
because it's water
overdose.
soluble. Just
Mm.
just a note on vitamin C, just while we're on that subject, because I think it's a really important topic to cover. And I've spoken about this quite a lot, but just so it's kind of contained here. You mentioned acerola cherry, whole food vitamin C. I find to be absolutely the best form of vitamin C because it's the most absorbable, it's the most natural, anything that's as close to nature as possible. And,
Yeah.
if you have MTHFR or any other gene polymorphisms that affect methylation, then ascorbic acid can not have the best effect on you. So just kind of highlighting that for anyone listening who's looking into that. And just a note on liposomal vitamin C, I am a fan of liposomal vitamin C. And for times of acute illness and healing, it can be amazing, but taken long term, it can affect copper stores. So I also think it's really important to know that. So for me, unless I'm in, if I've got the flu or something, I'm dosing up on Zuki liposomal vitamin C like no one's business. But then for maintenance, my smoothie every day, I have whole food vitamin C powder. And I think that, yeah, and like you say, you can't overdose on vitamin C.
Yeah.
And if we don't get it, the body doesn't make it. So we have to get it from our diet. And many of us, aren't getting enough of it from the actual diet. So, whole food vitamin C powder stuck in a smoothie is essentially not even supplementation. Well, it is, you're supplementing, but
Yeah.
it's food basically.
Yeah. And also, just to caveat, everything I did, I was supervised. So I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. So I sought through Ryan. I had the guidance that I needed, and that's not to say that people can't do it by themselves, but identifying the type of mold that you have,
Mm,
along, I had heavy metal toxicity, which
mm,
also prevents healing, and probably microplastics and all these kind of things building up in
mm,
my body. So my plan was very tailored to me
Yeah.
and the specifics that I had to heal from.
So
Um,
important to make it specific to you. There's no one size fits all. We're all made up
no,
so differently.
exactly. So, just for your listeners, I don't want to put them off doing it by themselves, but to be the most effective, it is best to seek some advice.
Yeah. I think it's really important to know, like you say, what mold you have, what exactly what's going on with your deficiencies, what heavy metals you're carrying.
Yeah,
You can't know that on your own, and unless you've had training, it's really hard to know what specific supplements to use for each of those things. And also, some supplements can counter other ones, so it's really important to get the right guidance.
exactly. And also, you can become very sensitive to certain things,
Mm.
and actually, certain binders or certain things can actually have a negative effect.
Mm.
So, I mean, I remember it was called I can never say it, titrating, where I upped the dose of certain things that were more potent very, very slowly. We're talking like
Mm.
tiny increments so that my body didn't reject it and it allowed it to do what it needed to do. Um, so on top of the supplementation, I made sure that I had natural light every day,
Mm.
which I just remember because it was we were on lockdown again at different times, and I didn't have outdoor space in my flat. And so I would sit with the window open and I would literally be leaning out the window with as little clothing as possible on, just trying to get as much of that natural light
Mm.
onto my skin as possible, opening my eyes to it, ideally first thing in the morning. But that that definitely helped. And there's an app called DMinder where I logged all the data as well so that I could see when I was getting that light and how strong it was and that kind of thing.
Oh, cool. What's that app? What does it do?
It's called DMinder.
Oh,
Um,
for vitamin and vitamin D.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
yes. Yeah,
exactly.
no, I have heard of it. Yeah, that's so cool. I don't use apps. I don't do any measuring or anything like that. Like I don't do any tracking of my health, but I think it's a good way to be able to get your journey started.
Yeah, and I think with tracking, you can become obsessive over it. But if you use it to inform yourself of certain things, um, for example, I did my first ever sound bath the other
Mm.
night, and during the sound bath, I actually felt quite anxious,
Mm.
probably just bringing things out and up. But when I looked at my aura ring stats, I intentionally looked at that time. It said that I was in a state of restoration.
Interesting. Yeah.
So,
Well, it
so
could be
I
your nervous system was releasing and therefore calming.
absolutely, and so it's a very. I like to use the statistics to help guide me in certain things, but I'm not looking at them all the time, and I'm
I
very
think there's
intentional.
like a process with it as well that I found, like kind of when you start your holistic living journey, everyone goes through. I had a call last night with the ladies on my membership. We have like an upgraded pathway called the Healing Hub, which is part of the Rise membership, but it's like an upgraded pathway for people who physically healing, like from chronic illness. And
Mm,
so we do coaching calls just with the Healing Hub group, and we were talking about that journey that everyone goes on when they start their healing journey, where at first you get kind of really obsessive with the research and you're making
yeah,
spreadsheets and you're tracking everything, and that is part of the process. It's not a bad thing, it's actually a really good thing. You have to go into that to start teaching your brain, rewiring your brain into a
yeah,
new way of thinking about health and about because if you've always done things a certain way and all of a sudden this new information is coming your way, your brain has to literally be rewired out of the old thought patterns
Yeah.
of how you do things for your health. So actually going very much into that masculine of the doing and the scheduling and the structure and the tracking and all of that is actually a major part of the process. And we were laughing about it, about kind of the evolution of that, and eventually you come out, you get fed up of that.
Yes.
But you also, the longer you're on the journey, you get to that point of deep interoception where you just know your body so well that you stop needing to rely on it. And you have to kind of find that breaking point or kind of that line of between, can I trust my body enough to tell me what I need without all these spreadsheets and, data and all of that. And when you get to that point, it's so beautiful because it's like all that previous work led to that. You needed that,
Yes.
the masculine to then lead more into the feminine, and then coming out into the feminine allows you to really feel more into the body and into what you need, in that state of being as opposed to doing. But it really is a process to getting to that point. And that first point is needed.
Definitely. I agree with everything you just said. And yeah, but it's even like I said with the recipe book, with
Mm,
the structure of that. That's what I needed. When I say I completely overhauled my entire lifestyle, it really was, and I became a different person in many ways, and I
mm,
I had to through that journey. So yes, so I also started saunaing more.
mm.
Obviously, for detox, it's the most amazing thing, and I prefer infrared saunas over um, heat saunas for many different reasons. But um, that was obviously key, and I try and maintain that now as well. And you just feel so wonderful after it. That if you have access to one nearby that you can go to, I just recommend it. But obviously, as well, if you are using it to detox, making sure that if you can bear a cold shower afterwards, then that is the most beneficial thing. But even if it's a lukewarm shower, just making sure that you do that straight away. Never ever just put your clothes back on and get into your car or walk
Mm.
somewhere else, because you're then just reabsorbing all the toxins you've just sweated out.
Yeah.
So that is like super key. And the other main thing that I did, and obviously still maintain, it was I bought a reverse osmosis water filter.
Amazing.
And that, when you think about how much water you need and how much of our body is made up of water, um, to really detoxify and flush things out, water is just such a key component. And when, as I'm sure you've discussed with other guests, what is in our tap water is just horrifying.
Hmm.
Um, and, you know, any kind of filter is better than no filter, but a reverse osmosis is just the best. I saw actually you posted recently that you'd found a reverse osmosis filter that also remineralizes.
Well, I found those in the past, but this is, I've had one of those for a long time. We talk a lot about water here. I'm massive on water. It's so important. It's life. But I've recently come in contact with a company who have finally made this system affordable. When we installed ours, it was thousands of pounds. Why? Why does it need to be that expensive? So this new company I'm working with, Pure Life, they're amazing, and their customer service is so good as well. And it does all the same things. It reverse osmosis, it's removing something like 99% of the toxins, so the chlorine, the fluoride, the hormones as well, because estrogen's affecting
Yeah,
us, there's high levels of synthetic estrogen from, the pill, the contraceptive
yeah,
pill and all the other, pharmaceuticals in the water. Um, but then, yeah, our issue is then that the water has been stripped of its minerals. But to be honest with you, people talk about that and they're like, reverse osmosis isn't good for that reason. And it's an interesting conversation and one I've, a kind of research hole I've been on for many years. But at the end of the day, unless you live near, if you live near a spring, ignore this, go to a spring every day and get your water from there and drink it. Nothing is going to be more beneficial for your health than that,
Yeah.
because it hasn't had to go through any processes. But if, like me, you live in a city or a town, even if, regardless of what the reverse osmosis is doing and stripping it of the minerals, once it's gone through all the pipes and it's gone through the rusty pipes, and it's not like stainless steel or something, it's like rusty pipes picking up God knows what in the way. It might be filtered of bacteria, but that's it. It's not filtered of any toxins. So, the reverse osmosis is ensuring that you have that. And then, okay, so you need to remineralize because you don't have a choice but to come out with dead water. So,
Yeah.
I add, so this system does remineralize. I still put minerals back in my water as well. I put Celtic sea salt in and I add trace minerals. And then I put it next to my summer Vedic overnight, which restructures the water as well. And then we swirl it around so it comes back to life also. So our water goes through like a whole thing, and we write love notes and put the glass jug on top of the love notes, and we talk to our water and we sing to our water and we thank our water and we put gratitude into the water. And it's so important. But I'll link the link to the reverse osmosis system that I recommend that remineralizes with a discount in the show notes for anyone listening as well. So yeah, water was a massive thing. Was there anything else that was like a big part of this healing journey for you?
Not in terms of at that time healing from the mold. Obviously, I've continued the journey and changed quite a lot since then, which I'm happy to go into, if that works.
Yeah, sure.
Um, yeah. So since then, because I moved out of the flat, that it had been remediated and there wasn't an issue, but it was time to have a little bit more space, and we wanted to have a family. So we actually bought a house and found that it was riddled with damp and mold,
No.
which we knew when we first came to see it. I mean, one of the pros, I guess, of having had toxic mold poisoning is that I can walk into somewhere and smell
Smell it. Yeah.
it. So I knew straight away when I was viewing the house that it had issues, but it actually led to us knocking down the house and rebuilding the house, which meant that I knew that there wasn't going to be a mold issue. And I'm not saying that everyone should knock down a house and rebuild a house, because that's not always feasible. But actually, um, it happened to work for us, and you also don't pay VAT on anything, so it does
Awesome. I
actually
didn't
work
know
out
that.
yeah, it works out to be much better cost wise. um, so I not only built a healthy home but wanted to ensure that it continues to be a healthy home. So I one of the most important things is air quality. So I'm sure you're aware we spend up to 90% of our time indoors, and our indoor air quality can be up to 4 times more toxic than outdoors. So
Yeah.
one of the key things for me was a ventilation system. If you can't afford to put in a ventilation system, or you can't retrofit one, then honestly, just opening the windows in
Mm.
your home it's like
Isn't
magic.
it crazy that, like, so I have this thing which my homeopaths have always picked this up on me, from when you look at like your constitutional remedies, homeopaths will always go like, are you better in fresh air? Are you better in this? Are you better in? And I'm a cold person. I've always got cold extremities. So I often most of the time feel cold. I cannot bear a stuffy room. If I walk into someone's house and they don't have a window open, or I can tell that they haven't had windows open, or people that kind of wake up in the morning and just go out to work without having opened the windows before, like while you're getting ready or something. I cannot understand it. I mean, maybe because my mum always opened windows, in the mornings, and just because I have this thing about stuffy rooms. even when I'm cold, I have to just have a little bit of air coming in. And again, I think that's that interoception thing. Like the body just knows that it needs fresh air, it needs ventilation. One of the key things for health is fresh air. So it
Yeah.
amazes me that people sit in these stuffy rooms with central heating and they don't realize how hot it is and how stuffy it is and how bad that is for us,
Yeah, and I know it's cold in England at the moment, and the thought of opening a window is just, it makes me feel cold even thinking about it. But it is just so important, even if it's just for a few minutes, just let that air exchange and
Yeah.
get rid of some of the toxicities. Um, so that's been a huge thing for me. So that goes into a bathroom extraction, which links back to mold. People think that turning on the bathroom extractor is just it for smells in the bathroom, but it's actually
Mm,
not at all,
mm,
really. It's for moisture. It's to prevent damp,
yeah.
which prevents mold. So if you can't open a window in the bathroom, just please always have your extractor fan on. And
Yeah.
it's the same in the kitchen. The kitchen is partly for smells, the extractor fan that you have in your kitchen, but it's also for the moisture,
Mm,
for the carcinogens. So all these things that when you're cooking naturally occur. Um, it's just getting rid of them and keeping that air much healthier, much fresher. And then I know that you're a big fan of non-toxic household
mhm.
products.
Right.
And this wasn't something that I started all those years ago, in 2020. It's something that it's taken time because I've also wanted to research and find the right product and the ones that don't have a smell or that I like the smell of. Obviously, always a natural smell, no perfumes or fragrance. Um, my go-to thought is always when you look under your kitchen sink and you see something and it's got a big cross symbol or a
Yeah. Are you going to drink
skull.
it? Are you going
Yeah,
to wash your
I
kids'
mean,
fruit in it and then give it to them?
exactly. Like, why would you spray that on your surfaces?
Right.
Um, so that's a huge thing of not having home fragrances or any of that synthetic stuff, and really like back to the basics. And people think it's very costly, and there are some things that
Oh,
do
you can
cost
make it
more.
yourself.
You can
Vinegar,
exactly.
distilled water, and some lemon essential oil, or add some like I add lemon eucalyptus essential oil. Put some lavender in there as well, some tea tree,
Yeah,
depending on what you need. Like, that'll do it. Doesn't have to be expensive
exactly.
at all. Yeah, there are some brands that do it for you if you don't want to make them and, buy the glass bottles and whatever. Some people would rather just have something sent to their house. So there's great options for that, but it
Yeah,
doesn't have
I
have
hold my
to be
hands up.
costly.
I'm one of these people. I have tried doing it myself and just always find I run out of time. So I've tried and tested quite a few and have found my favorites. And yeah, but it makes such a difference, I think. And when I go to people's homes or if I'm in a restaurant and someone sprays something near
Oh
me,
God, yeah.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
Um,
Same. I'm so
or
sensitive to it.
so sensitive, which isn't great either. But it just shows what great marketing some of these big brands can have, and they're just encouraging us to spray these toxins into our environments.
And
Um,
I'm hoping that you're going to move on to the very worst culprit of all in our homes.
Candles.
Candles, synthetic fragrances.
Yes, so any plugins, I mean,
Oh,
just no.
I used to go around to
Candles,
my in-laws' house, and my mother-in-law hated the plugins, but my father-in-law loved them. And my kids used to sleep there, and I would say, they can't sleep here while these are plugged in. Can you unplug it? And they'd, oh, you're being ridiculous. I'm like, can I just tell you the research on this? And he was so uninterested, but eventually he did listen, and we threw them all away. And
Yeah.
I would say to them, I know you think I'm being high maintenance, but
Yes.
before I come over, can you please unplug those things? Because it makes me feel, and even if they've unplugged it 5 minutes before I come, it's still going to be in the air,
Yes.
like just affecting your endocrine system, completely messing up your hormones, affecting your respiratory system. I just feel so strongly about those plugins. Like, why are they allowed to be sold?
I totally agree with you, and I'm equally as affected. And it's this is the thing about raising awareness and trying to educate people on these things, and it's so difficult because it's become part of everyday life. I mean, you go to the supermarket and you pick up a certain brand, and it's just
Yeah.
normal. Yeah, of
I walk
course.
into Next, and I hate going in there. I mean, I go in there quite often, but I hate going in there because they've got the home section at the front, and it's all the diffusers, the reed diffusers and the candles, and it makes my chest so tight. I can't bear it. What I
Yeah.
would love to know from you is
Yeah.
like a brief, like, bullet point list to make it simple for people, like as a building biologist in training, of the things to do in your home to keep your home healthy, to avoid mold, and to just keep environmental toxins low and keep your family healthy. Like, what's that bullet point? What does that bullet point list look like?
So air quality, I'd probably put that at number one. So yeah, no synthetic fragrances. Change out your cleaning product. Open the windows, and that's super key. And taking off your shoes,
Yeah.
which sounds a bit silly, but when you think about what you walk in outdoors, there's car fumes, there's animal feces, there's just general dirt, and then if you walk that through your home, you're adding you're adding to that. Hoovering with a HEPA filtered Hoover once or twice a week, changing your bed sheets as often as possible, and airing your bed when you can as well. Just it stops the dust mites, which mold loves a bit of a dust mite, and all that kind of thing. Using your extractor fans always. Um, so that covers air, water. Filter your water. Ideally, reverse osmosis. But if you can't do that, then a Kruger filter is better than nothing. Um, or even one of the ones, the jugs that you put in your fridge. It's still better than nothing. It's not great, and also most of them are plastic, which is a
Yeah, I
whole
was going to
other
say,
can
debatable
of
on whether it's
worms.
better than nothing, because they basically just do a tiny bit more filtering than the tap does, but they don't actually remove toxins.
Fair. Um, and another a really key one for me is lighting.
Yeah.
Um, so you can't see here, but throughout the house we have block blue lights,
Yeah.
3 system.
Same. My husband hates
Uh,
them. I love them. He hates them. But
yeah,
that was a non-negotiable for me when we renovated.
exactly. So I can I can empathize,
But it's
because
great. Like, in at the night, at nighttime, like once the kids have had their bath and they come down, we put it on the amber, and it
yeah,
just knocks them out. Anyone that comes into my house when I have it on amber,
yeah.
they're like, "This is so trippy, and why am I so tired all of a sudden?" Because instantly your cortisol is dropping, your melatonin's going up. It's brilliant.
It is brilliant, and we also have red light bulbs. So for reading by
Yeah,
the bed, just pure red light, and
yeah,
in Millie's bedroom, so that after her bath, when it's like settling down time, um, she really has, like, it's very red.
yeah, yeah.
And if I do have to go in the middle of the night or anything, I've got
You don't have to turn on a bright white light. Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
So lighting is just so key for your health, and therefore a healthy home.
Mm,
And just by setting up your circadian rhythm and trying to make sure that you get a good night's sleep, it's so important. When
so
you sleep,
important.
your body restores itself and heals and does all of that. So creating the environment for it to be able to do that is just so important.
Yeah, you can't
And
underestimate that.
yeah,
We've
and
at Block Blue Light have been a long-term partner of the podcast, so we're big fans here. I have like their reading lamp and everything to clip onto my book, and their red light machine as well. They're brilliant. We'll put the
yeah,
details of that in the
absolutely
show notes
brilliant.
also for anyone interested.
And do you know what? Like, I watch TV in the evening. Not I try to not watch it too close to bedtime, but I do watch it. I'm not going to say that I don't, but I have my blue light blocking glasses. So, even though my body may be absorbing some of the blue light, at least my eyes are not.
Yeah,
And
totally.
that definitely makes a big difference too. So they would be my kind of top three
Amazing.
areas to look at in terms of creating a healthy home, and one where you can just, yeah. My other thing is, which I know you cover, is organic food.
Mhm.
Um, it's something that we've changed over to fairly recently because I want to create the best thing I can for Millie. Um, and when I've been doing a lot more reading into it and looking into it, and when you hear about what is going on with our foods and the sprays and the chemicals, the pesticides, all of it, it's actually quite terrifying.
Yeah.
And yeah, so also all the farm washing and things that goes on in the supermarkets where
Yeah.
it's not actually organic.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a change, and I do have to stress that anything that I've spoken about, I have not done anything just overnight.
Mm.
All of it has been a gradual process, and if it sounds completely overwhelming to anybody, don't panic. Just take your time and do what you can do
Mhm.
for you at that time, within your cost, your budget, within your means, within your time frame. And yeah, it's
Yeah, I love that you said that because I think, this podcast's been going for 5 years now, and I, have some people that have been in this industry and this lifestyle for a long time, and so it can feel quite unaccessible to some people listening. And I love that you're coming in so real and so authentic and like, I didn't know, and then this happened and I've had to change everything and it wasn't easy and it didn't happen overnight and I'm still learning. And that's most people, right? Most people listening,
yeah,
again, you know, the biggest problem that I see with all my clients when we dig under the surface, and they could come to me for any number of reasons, whether it's physical health or trauma or, hormones or like whatever it is,
yeah,
beneath the surface, everyone's nervous system's a shot to hell. And it's because we have so much to focus on, so much information coming our way, so much doing required of us. Our nervous systems are completely dysregulated. And sometimes adding to that by saying, right, you need to go and figure out organic food and you need to get blue light free lighting and you need to go and do
yeah,
saunas and you need to do this. And without all of that, you can't be healthy. It's a lot. And so just kind of remembering that before any of that, just do some nervous system regulation. And that all that needs to be is some deep breathing. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 6, hold for 4. Just for anyone listening who's feeling overwhelmed at any point with this holistic living journey, just regulate your nervous system, because without a regulated nervous system, you're going to be in fight and flight. You're going to be in that survival mode and nothing will come easily. Whereas when you are regulated, your brain literally, you change from one brainwave state to the other. You change from beta to alpha. You're calmer, you're more focused, you have more, your executive function is switched on and everything is clearer and you can manage all this stuff. So start with just breathing before
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, that's great advice. But yeah, it can definitely be overwhelming. And I spoke recently, and everyone in the audience afterwards looked in a state of panic. And I just said, yeah, slowly, slowly,
Yeah, yeah,
slowly.
totally.
Um,
Yeah.
and and also then if you do it slowly, you'll start to know what is making a difference.
Right.
If you just suddenly went and did everything all in
Yeah,
one
yeah.
go, then
I
you
also
won't
think
actually know what's working.
there's also an element of like when something, like I always think if some other, some symptom was to show up in me or some, dis-ease that was new and I had to do something about it, I would be panicked just for a minute because I have, great people around me that I know can support, but I would be panicked for a minute being like, I don't know what else I could do at this point. Obviously, there are loads, like, God forbid, someone gets cancer, you used to go into
Mm.
hyperbaric oxygen chambers, you do vitamin B17, you do high dose CBD. There's so many things, obviously. But it's also when you're doing everything, it's this idea of, wow, I'm already doing everything or doing so much. When you're new to it, I find like it's really exciting to speak to people like that, as long as they're open, because it's like even the smallest change, you're going to feel a difference
Yes.
because your body is screaming for that. Your body's like, wow, this is so exciting. Thank you for giving me daylight. Thank you for
Yeah.
putting your bare feet on the earth. I am so grateful right now. I'm going to give you an amazing day. Thank you for drinking clean water. Thank you for going for a walk. Like all the free, like we're talking about all these things that could cost money. What it comes down to is the simple free things can be the
Yeah.
most beneficial to our health. And if you just start there, your body is going to respond so well and be so grateful to you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, the free ones are the best way to start, and then some of the bigger investments like a red light stack, which are more costly. But then if you are using them, I mean, I got out of the habit and I got back into it, and in April I will have done it every single day for a year,
Wow. Amazing.
without except when if I was on holiday. But then it's different because then I
You
go
get the
and ground
sunshine.
on the
Yeah.
beach and download on the beach first thing. Um, so it's if you're going to benefit from it in such a way, then the I used to equate this actually to a new bag or a new pair of shoes or a new coat, and I'd call
Right.
it the cost per wear. Um, but maybe it's changed. My life has changed so much. It's actually probably now
Oh,
the
you've moved over
you.
to the crunchy high maintenance crew. Welcome, welcome. We don't have our eyelashes done or fake tans or get our nails done or our hair done, but we spend £900 on a red light machine.
Exactly.
So our husbands hate us just the same.
Yeah. I know. I do try and tell my husband that actually I'm really low maintenance.
Yeah.
He's not buying it.
My husband doesn't buy it when he's like, you need organic cotton clothing. So every item you're buying is now costing quadruple the price. New bed sheets. We just bought our son a new bed. The mattress had to be organic. The sheets had to be organic, you
Yeah.
know. But anyway, we do what we can. And then we, like I always say here, we kitted out our whole house in blue light free lighting, but we bought secondhand couches so that new couches weren't off gassing into the environment. So,
Mm.
it balances out.
Absolutely.
Katie, thank you so much. This has been
Oh, thank
so
you.
great, and I think so many people are gonna, really just resonate with this and
I hope so.
and enjoy it. So thank you so much for being here and sharing
Thank
your words
you.
of wisdom. And we'll put all your details in the show notes. Any kind of last words on where people can find you, where you want people to find you if they'd like to
Yeah,
work with
I'm
you and
on.
get you into their homes?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Healthy Home UK, and my website is healthy-home.uk. And yeah, I can come to your existing home and do a consultation where I look around your home and provide a shopping list of almost of what I think that you can do. But there's no obligation, obviously, to do any of it at all. So you pick and choose what you want to do. And or if you are doing a build, I can work with your builders, with your architects, interior designers from the get-go to ensure that you're using the healthiest materials,
Amazing.
and yeah, just providing the healthiest possible living environment for you and your family. So
amazing. I love that. Okay, well, we'll make sure to get all that in the show notes so everyone has a link to all of that. Thank you so much for enlightening us.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Reconditioned. I am honestly so grateful to each and every person that tunes in. Thank you also for taking responsibility for your own well-being. You should know that just by choosing to listen to podcasts like this that further your well-being, you're moving more deeply into abundance consciousness. Now, don't forget, I have a bunch of free resources over at laurenvakneen.co.uk, as well as every recommendation you could ever need in regards to your well-being on the LV Recommends page, all categorized for your ease. Thank you also to our sponsors. These episodes would not be possible without them, so make sure to check them out and get some pretty awesome discounts on the show notes. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get updated each time a new one is released. Thank you. I appreciate you.